So now we'll step into the next method called as Playfair Cipher method. So Playfair Cipher method was designed by a person named Wheatstone, but still Playfair was the person who implemented it or promoted it, and hence it has been named after him. So this is simply nothing but using a 5 cos 5 squares, people can use this. So he just designed this and he communicated this to British Foreign Office, but still because of its complexity they just denied it and they just told that they cannot use this for their official purposes. But still Wheatstone proved that out of 4 school children nearby, 3 can understand this technique within 15 minutes. But still the Secretary of the Foreign Office didn't accept that, and he replied that this can be more tedious to explain to the administrative staff. So they just denied it. But still this method was used for unimportant communications during First World War and Second World War. British, Australian and New Zealand army people, they just used this method, but still they considered this is not apt for communicating highly confidential messages, as this may be tracked by any person. But still, whatever they have to communicate within a short period, whatever has to be done within 30 minutes or whatever has to be done in 45 minutes, for that short duration communication they adapted to this technique. So after hours later, even if the enemy troop people try to decrypt and they find the actual message, that would be useless, because by then the actual action would have been completed, because they just use this technique for whatever immediate actions they have to take. So by then, hours later, when people started to decrypt this message and found the actual message, by then the actual action would have been happened. But still, Playfair Cipher method remains as the first method which can encrypt a pair of letters at the same time. In Julius Caesar method and in various other methods, we are capable of encrypting a single plain text letter to a single cipher text letter, whereas Playfair Cipher method is the first method where pair of letters can be converted from plain text to cipher text at the same time. So now we shall deal with Playfair Cipher text. So before getting into Playfair Cipher text, one more thing we have to keep it in mind is we should have a private key. So even in Julius Caesar method, shifting a letter 3 steps ahead is the private key. And even in grid XX format, so the combination of grids and X's is the private key. So people only Alice and Bob, they will be knowing these methods. They just communicated or they just transferred only the cipher text. So key is a prominent one in Playfair Cipher method. So already we have discussed about private key and public key. So we have discussed 2 methods earlier. One is Julius Caesar method and the other one is Pigpen Cipher method. So in both the methods we used private key system, and even also in this method, Playfair Cipher method, also we will adapt to private key method. So what do you mean by private key? Only cipher text will be passed from Alice to Bob. But already Alice and Bob, they will be having the key which they have already discussed. So in Julius Caesar method, shifting the letter 3 steps ahead, this is the actual key. Bob and Alice, they have already communicated and they have in mind that whatever communication they get, either they have to move 3 steps ahead or move 3 steps down. So this is known only to Alice and Bob. So in between, whoever looks into it, they can just only look into the cipher text, which is obviously an hidden message or an unreadable format. Without the help of key or without knowing the key, they cannot decode it. So even in Pigpen Cipher method, grid X was the private key. Only Alice and Bob will be knowing the actual method, combinations of grids and X. So we just communicated, Alice just passed only the cipher text. So whoever in between looks into the cipher text without knowing the grid X combination, they cannot trace it. So even in this method, we will be having a private key. So that key can be anything, any code word. So that code word will remain as the key. So this code word will be known only to Alice and Bob. So along with the message, if we are not passing the key, we are just passing only the cipher text, then this will be called as private key cryptography. So along with the cipher text, if you are passing the key also, then that will be called as public key cryptography. So now we are dealing with classical cryptography or private key cryptography, where we will be passing only the cipher text, whereas the private keys will be already well in advance known to each other. So now we are moving into Playfair Cipher method. In Playfair Cipher method, initially we have to design a 5 cross 5 table. So a table consisting of 5 rows and 5 columns. So as we look into it, we have a table of 5 rows and 5 columns. So now we have to initially write down the plain text first. So I have a plain text called stay home, be safe. So this is my plain text. So now I am going to encrypt this message, for which I am in need of a key. So as I mentioned already, Alice and Bob, they could have decided and fixed into a key. So for instance, let me assume the key to be something called COVID. So if this is my key, so what I am supposed to do is, in my 5x5 grid, I am supposed to enter the each letter of the keyword in each cell. So actually we have something called COVID. So each letter has to be fitted in respective cells. So I can just write C, O, V, I and D. So keyword can be of any length. Preferably I have chosen a keyword consisting of 5 letters. The keyword can be of any length between 1 and 25. So that is out of our choice, but it should be a meaningful word, only then we can keep it in mind. So here I have chosen something called COVID and I have just entered each alphabets in respective cells. So in my keyword, all the 5 letters are unique. No letter is repeated more than once. So if at all in your keyword, if a letter is getting repeated more than once, make sure that you have to enter a letter only once in the table. So each letter has to be entered in the table only once, even in your keyword or in your plain text. If the letter is getting repeated, never mind about it. In your table of 5x5 grid, each letter has to be entered only once. So coming back, so I am entering C, O, V, I and D. So soon after entering the keyword, from the very next cell onwards, you are supposed to enter the left out alphabets in order. So let me start with that. A, B, already I have entered C, so let me skip that. So next one will be D, that is also been entered, so I can skip that also. Next one will be E. E, F, G, H, I is already entered there. Since this grid consists of 25 cells and we have 26 alphabets in English, what we do is I and J, they will be put together in a single cell. So usually this is a format. So wherever you are entering I, so in the same cell J has to be fitted, and that is the reason why I am fitting J also here. So after J I have K, L, M, N and O is already been entered. So I can just ignore that. So next one will be P, Q, R, S, T, U. V is already been entered, so I can just ignore. So next one will be W, X, Y and Z. So this table can also be called as key table, because this is going to help us to convert the plain text into cipher text. So now we will move into the encryption process. So actual plain text is stay home, be safe. Now I am supposed to encrypt this into a cipher text by means of this key table. So what I am supposed to do is, first of all, I have to represent my plain text in terms of 2's. I have to write my plain text in terms of 2's. So what I do? S, T, A, Y, H, O, M, E, B, E, S, A, F, E. So I have to pair 2 letters consecutively. So that is how initially I have to express my plain text. So next, I have to map these 2 letters respectively in the table. So what is the first pair? S and T. I am supposed to identify S and T from the table. So here I have S as well as I have T. So you have 3 or 4 rules to be kept in mind. So the first thing is, you have to check whether both the alphabets are lying to same row. Next you have to check whether both the alphabets are lying in the same column. If not, then that will be the third method. So there are 3 methods. The first thing is, both the alphabets of the pair, they may lie in the same row, or they both may lie in the same column. If not, and obviously they may lie in the different rows and different columns. So right. So now I am just finding the first type, where I am finding both the letters of the pair are lying in the same row. So I have to look into the first rule. So the rule is very easy. So what I am supposed to do is, if they are lying in the same row, I have to move towards rightwards. So same row, move rightwards. So what do you mean by rightward? You just consider only the row consisting of those 2 alphabets. So for S, immediately when I move rightward, the corresponding cipher text I get is T. So for S, then cipher text will be T. So for T, I have to write rightward. Since T being the last cell in this particular row, when I move to the rightward, so I don't find anything, which means I have to jump back to the initial cell. So as we did in our Julius Caesar's method. So moving rightward, keep it in mind, if they both lie in the same row, you just move rightwards. So for S, if I move rightward, I get T. For T, when I move rightward, I am not finding anything, so I have to go back to the initial, I get P. So for S, it is T. For T, it is P. So that is how I extract my cipher text. Right? Now I'll move into the next pair. So the next pair is A and Y. So now again you have to do the same process. You have to first plot it. So I am finding A is here and Y is here. So now this belongs to third. Whenever both the letters are not in same row or they are not in same column, then automatically this will be the third type. So A is in different row and different column, Y is in different row and different column. So you have to identify the point of intersection of those two. So the point of intersection will be traveling here. So F will be one point of intersection. Similarly, U will be the another point of intersection. So you can just look into here. I have just explained only the required grids containing A and Y between them. So for A and Y, if I move from A, F will be the point of intersection. If I move from Y, U will be the point of intersection. Always you have to keep it in mind. Among rows, you have to always move only rightwards. So you should not move upward and downward unless it is column wise. So here we are using row wise combination. So you have to move from A to the point of intersection. So for A, I will be getting F. For Y, I will be getting the point of intersection is U. Let me repeat again. Since A and Y are in different row and different columns, I have to take down the grid starting from A to Y. So I am just having a subtable where I have cells from A to Y. You have to identify the point of intersections from A and from Y. When I move both words, I am finding F is my point of intersection. Similarly, when moving from A, moving from Y, I find U as the point of intersection. More importantly, you have to just go in the opposite directions of each. So from A, I go towards right. So from Y, I have to move towards left. So for A, the cipher text is F. For Y, the cipher text is U. So hence for A, Y, I am getting FU. Similarly, I have to continue for the next pair. So the next pair is HO. So now I have to identify H and O. So H is somewhere here and O is somewhere here. Again, it is of third kind because they both lie to different rows and different columns. So again, I am just containing or framing a subtable from containing only these two intersection points. So what I do? I just take only these two combinations. So the point of intersection will be K and the other point of intersection will be C. So moving downward, I will just get K. Moving upward from here, I can find C. So this will be the point of intersection. So as I mentioned already, H will move towards its right, whereas O will move towards its left. So only right and left directions are allowed. So hence, to identify the point of intersection, we have to move upward, downward, right and left. But after that, to frame or to map that to the respective cipher text, we have to move in opposite directions. If one is moving rightward, the other should move in leftward. So from the table itself will indicate you here H has to move rightward. So the map cipher text will be K. The O has to move on the opposite direction. Its position will be C. So hence for HO, I will be getting KC. Similarly for ME. So identify M and E. So M is here and E is here. Again, this is of third kind. They are lying in different rows and different columns. So I have to draw a subtable containing only this. So what will be that? So E, F, L, M. So only from E till M. I have to cover the point of intersections. So E and M, they intersect at F, also at L. So here E moves towards right, whereas M move towards left. So for E, F will be the cipher text. For M, L will be the cipher text. So for M, E, L, F will be the cipher text. So next is B, E. So you have to map B and E first. So B, E. So again they lie in the same row. As like the first thing, S and T, they were in the same row. Similarly, now B, E, they lie in the same row. So what you are supposed to do, whenever they lie in same row, move rightwards. So B, E. So I will be having A, B, E, F and G. So for B, when I move rightward, it will be E. For E, when I move rightward, it will be F. So hence for BE, I will be getting EF. Right. So here we are having BE in row wise. If at all, if in some case, if I finding it in column wise, so what I am supposed to do? Instead of moving rightwards, I have to move downwards. So again for B, I will be getting E. For E, the very next cell, whatever beneath that, so that will be considered. So for column wise, you have to go downwards, and for row, you have to go rightwards. If at all I am reaching the last cell in that particular respective row or column, then I have to go from the initial point again. So that is a process you have to keep it in mind. So here again I have something called SA. So S is here, A is here. So I can just map so that for S I will be getting P, for A I will be getting F. So I will be getting P and F. So finally FE. So as I mentioned already, now again FE belongs to the same grid. So what should I do? I have to move rightwards. So whichever comes first, no issues. So it need not be only B, E. F and E, they are in reverse order, but whatsoever they are lying to the same row. So what I should do? I should go rightwards. So for F, if I go rightward, it is G. For E, if I go rightward, it will be F. So hence I will be getting GF. And that's it. I have done with the encryption process. Stay home, be safe was my actual plain text. Now that has been converted into TP, FU, KC, LF, EF, PF, GF. So by no means anyone can spell it out, and you can more importantly look into it. The ciphertext for S was initially T, and here the ciphertext for S was S remains P. So always in Julius Caesar method, at any cost, ciphertext for a single letter will remain constant. Whereas in this method, based on its different pairs, it is getting different. For instance, here I can just note down. For A, I am getting F everywhere, and for E also I am getting F everywhere. But still, this is a coincidence. It may not happen all the time. But still, wherever I find F, I may not know whether it is A or E. So this is by coincidence I am just getting this. But you have to make sure that since I am pairing the letters, and with the help of the pair combination, I am just using cipher process. This remains bit hectic to decode it. But still, this method is so easy because it is not involving any sort of formula. It just involves the formation of grid, and using this mapping process, you can just convert the plain text into ciphertext. The decryption process is also so simple. You have to go the other way. If you could have gone in the rightward direction, you could go in the leftward direction. But initially, to make this method clear, initially until you are done with the encryption process, you need not bother about the decryption process. You can just think about this method. Whatever we have done, you have to get some more examples, and you have to make sure that you are thorough with the encryption process. Let me repeat again. You have to fix a particular keyword. You have to fit in that each letter of the keyword in each cells of the table, and after that, from the very next cell onwards, you have to fit in the remaining left out alphabets in the proper order, and I and J, they should occupy the same cell. Once this process is done, you have to pair the plain text in twos. Once that pairing process is being done, for each pair you have to identify those letters in the cell. So there are three things to kept in mind. Those two letters may lie to the same row. They both may lie in same column, or they both lie in different rows and different columns. So if they both are lying in same row, you have to move one cell rightwards. If they are lying in same column, you have to move one cell downwards. If they are lying in different rows and different columns, you have to identify the letter which remains as the point of intersection. And for one you have to go rightward, for the other you have to go leftward. The subtable itself will indicate in which direction you have to go. So that's how you find the equivalent cipher pair of text. Once you are done with all the pairs, you are getting the ciphertext properly. So what Bob will do, well, soon after receiving this, Bob, for the key table will remain the same. Since the key remains the same, the key table also will remain the same. And after that, Bob will do exactly the opposite. So in same row, he will go leftwards, same column, he will go upwards. Different rows and different columns, he will go the opposite point of intersections. So decryption process can be maybe explained in the different session. Here, let me stop with this encryption process alone. Even this encryption process, there may be two more or a few more things to be kept in mind. So let me get into another example where I have something called hello.